On this episode of Insight, boomer housing, what's working, what's not? Judy, you and your husband retired to Noosa 28 years ago. Are you considering downsizing from your 4-bedroom home?
Not at all. I can't think of anything worse than being confined to a small space with very little garden and not much space around me. I think the idea that older people need smaller houses needs to be rethought. Younger people are at school, at work all day, and they come home and they watch television and they go to bed and then they're gone. Older people are actually in their homes most of the day. They live in their homes, they have hobbies, everything they do is in their home. And if there's two of you, you really need your own spaces.
You're in your 70s, your husband is in his 80s. What measures have you taken to make sure that you can stay in your home as you age?
We've put rails. They're not very elegant or lovely, but we've put them on every step inside and out. And we have 3 levels in our garden and we have split-level house. So we put rails on the steps and then we built a lift so that we can carry loads without having to carry them up and down the steps. So we're trying to reduce the likelihood of falls all the time. We redesigned our garden so that there's not one blade of grass to mow. It's very easy care with raised gardens.
Did you feel any pressure to downsize?
I think all people in this age group feel pressure. I think there's pressure from the media as well as from younger people, but I think they have learnt that from academia and governments scapegoating older people as an answer to the housing crisis. And I would suggest that older people should just resist that.
Vishnia, you and your husband are empty nesters. 5 years ago, you bought a 4-bedroom house with a pool. What made you buy that home for 2 people?
Because we are a blended family, what you can say. I've got a daughter, he's got a daughter, I've got grandkids as well. So we've got some family coming and stay. We have lots of friends and we like to have our space for ourselves as well.
How do you feel about this idea that if older Australians downsize, they can free up larger homes for younger families?
I think when you are young, you shouldn't really look to buy a 4-bedroom house if you are trying to pay off your mortgage. And, you know, young people these days maybe won't be too much.
So when you see the headlines of boomers are hanging on to all the housing, how does that make you feel?
Pressured, angry, because we work for our houses and I think we deserve to have what we want.
So no plans to downsize anytime soon?
No, definitely not. As long as we can look after ourselves, we don't have a plan to downsize.
Charmaine and Brian recently downsized from their home on the Mornington Peninsula. Let's have a look.
Moving out day. It's here.
We'll miss it.
I know, we will miss the view. It's a stunning view.
But we won't miss the steps.
Yeah, the block is just too steep for us now. 27 years of looking at that fabulous view. I remember when we first saw it and we really thought it was going to be the last move, didn't we?
Yeah.
And now we are.
Here we are, leaving it.
Financially, we had no choice, really. We had to downsize to get some money to put in our super. To think we paid, what, $135,000 for it?
Yeah.
It's been good to us, the old house.
The good old house.
It's been like a whirlwind, an absolute whirlwind, you know. There's so many things to think about. Oh, actually, my granddaughter's on her way. She's going to look after the cat. I think we've got about 90 days to be able to get the money that we get out of this to put into our superannuation. I can tell you without a doubt, we have had cups of tea at 3 in the morning thinking, what the hell, what are we doing? Are we going to be able to get through this? It's sad. There's just so many memories here. You know? We've loved this house and this house has loved us. So it's sad to leave, but a new start. We're watching the removalist truck leave the house. Well, it's now 4:30 and settlement was meant to happen at midday and it still hasn't happened. So very stressful and frustrating. Hi Lisa, will we wait to hear from you and find out whether we can unpack the truck or not? Yeah, it's just very, very stressful, I can tell you. We won't be staying here tonight anyway because there's no power.
No power.
That's another little glitch. I'm telling you, if this doesn't turn baby boomers off downsizing, nothing will.
Grace, you're a financial advisor. What are the rules around selling your home to increase your superannuation?
There's a few criteria. Firstly, you need to be over 55 to access the downsizer contributions. Secondly, you have to have owned your home for over 10 years. And thirdly, you have to have the funds into super within 90 days of settlement. Each individual can put up to 300,000 into super, or as a couple, you can put up to 600,000 into super.
Robin, you were in your late 60s, living in a 3-storey townhouse when you decided to move. Was that financially driven?
No, it wasn't financially driven. It was more the 3 stories, and I didn't want to be going into my 70s and older thinking about climbing up 2 flights of stairs up to the top. I'd seen too much of people who just hadn't considered that, and it had often got too late, so I wasn't going to do that.
So what did you decide to do?
I decided to move into a retirement village. That wasn't something I ever thought would be on the cards for me. I poo-pooed that whole idea. No, that's just not me. Not doing that.
What was it about the retirement village that attracted you to it?
Living amongst a community of people, and from what I could see when I'd gone out to look at a number of retirement villages, there were generally lots of options, not only about how a future home might look, but also about how I might spend my time living in a retirement village. There were ranges of activities, and certainly where I moved there was a whole range of physical activities, a whole range of social activities.
You have 2 adult children. How did they feel about your move?
My children were just so encouraging. Mum, this is your life. This is possibly, now I'm saying probably, it is the rest of my life. I said, well, if I take this option, you mightn't get as much inheritance later. They said, we don't care about inheritance. You need to do what is good for you, what is fulfilling, what's going to give you a fullness of life.
Michael, you're an economist. Are many retirees downsizing for financial reasons?
Oh, I think there's no doubt that financial considerations loom large. I mean, in the end, the house is your biggest asset. The older age group who are thinking about downsizing, I mean, what they've discovered, that buying a house and living in it for a long time is a great way to generate wealth in a very tax-effective way and in a way that doesn't affect your pension. What they're also now discovering, of course, at the time that their wealth kind of peaks, their income starts to drop because they're retiring, and the cost of maintaining those older houses starts to increase. So we have a group that ends up, I think, as basically asset rich but cash poor. How do you get out of that particular situation? Well, restructuring your assets to generate more income and moving to more age-appropriate housing is one way. And that really, in the end, is the definition of downsizing. When we look at the surveys, at least half the people who are downsizing tell us that they're aiming to put some money into superannuation, other investments, and it's also one of the main ways the Bank of Mum and Dad gets its funding as well.
We also hear about right-sizing. What is that?
Well, it's the kind of shift that when we think about downsizing, we typically think about moving to a smaller dwelling. I mean, that's what the name kind of suggests. But what we're discovering is that a lot of people don't want to downsize at all. In fact, some people want to increase the size of their dwellings. I mean, those extra bedrooms are finding lots of other uses as well. And in fact, about 70% of downsizers say they want to move to a place that has 2 or 3 bedrooms. But one of the things they don't want is that big garden that needs lots of maintenance. They don't need that old house that is expensive to heat and cool during the year, and comes with all that kind of home maintenance that you need as well. So right-sizing, kind of now captures the different movements that are going on within the people who are thinking about moving in that older age bracket.
Are developers building the types of properties boomers are wanting to live in?
Well, I think it's beginning to change, but it's been a slow progress. In the beginning, there was too much focus on the idea of downsizing. So what we saw was lots of smallish one-bedroom units coming through. But the type of questions that we started to get from people were, well, where are we going to put the dining room table? We need that for the family gatherings. And just as importantly, where are we going to park the caravan? So these are the sorts of issues that are feeding in and why that kind of small one-bedroom unit wasn't really appropriate. So we are now kind of seeing a shift there, I think, towards building the bigger dwellings that now kind of fit in with what people want. But what it comes down to is, well, we have 1.9 million people who tell us they want to downsize, and about two-thirds of them want to do it in the next 2 years. But we're only building, something like 70,000 new apartments a year. So there's a huge gap between the number of potential downsizers and the availability of the kind of dwellings that they want to move in. And that's before you even add on first home buyers and all the other groups who are moving around in the housing market.
Jane, you and your husband Ralph were in your 60s when you decided to sell your family home. What prompted your move?
Oh, a lot of things. We'd lived in the house for 35 years, brought up our kids there. We loved the neighbourhood. But it was 4 bedrooms, there was a big garden. I mean, we bought it as a tumble-down 2-bedroom and we, over the many years extended it and did all of that. But it was getting to a point where we were rattling around like a pair of acorns in this great big silly house. And it was going to have some serious money spent on it. It was nearly 100 years old. Did we want to invest more money in, redoing what we needed to redo or not? And so we started to look around and see what was out there in terms of a smaller dwelling. I mean, we're incredibly privileged. We have a country property. So did we need 2 great big gardens and lots of, stuff to look after and acres of lawn to mow? No. And we also were aware that our house was on a steep block. And I've got elderly parents. I'm, again, very lucky. They're 93 and 94 and still fine. But they couldn't get up the stairs at the front of my house. They couldn't even walk up the driveway. And that made me think, I don't want to live in a house that's inaccessible to my parents. And it's not that long before it might be inaccessible to me, or let's hope Ralph rather than me. But we have this competition, who's going to go downhill first. So there was a lot of imperatives, but we were very tentative to begin with. We were also aware that we had our daughters who were married with children and trying to, service huge mortgages. And so we also thought we could help them and take some of the stress out of their life.
Big time.
Yeah, we really thought about that.
Grace, your clients include boomers who are financially secure and own their own home. Are many of them also wanting to help children with housing?
Certainly seeing a lot more conversations around older clients that are thinking about helping children. But I always say to clients, first and foremost, look after themselves first. Join the ski club, which is Spend the Kids Inheritance Club. So first and foremost is look after yourself. Make sure your own needs are looked after before considering giving any funds to the children.
Jane, a lot of new developments for over 55s are coming onto the market. Did you consider buying into one of those?
We didn't really look at retirement villages as such, though a couple we did, but we weren't very keen on the exit and entry price things. There was a lot of, we both thought those contracts were dodge as, and really worked terribly well for the people selling the retirement village and not terribly well for the people who were buying in. So we were getting discouraged. We hadn't found anything that kind of suited the sorts of things that we were attracted to. And then our youngest daughter saw an ad in the real estate section, and she said, I think you should look at that. And it was a 3-bedroom so a semi-detached house, 1 suburb away. And we walked through the front door and we just went, oh, this is it. And luckily we were able to buy it.
And then it comes to decluttering your home, getting it ready for sale. How was that process?
It was extraordinary. 35 years of accumulated crap, frankly. And not just our crap, our daughter's crap, our sons-in-law's crap. We seem to be the repository for whatever people couldn't bear to throw away but didn't know what to do with. So we had to go through all this stuff. It took days and days and days. And I'm terrible. I mean, I'm a writer, so I buy books and I get sent books all the time. So poor Ralph took 40 boxes of books to the Lifeline Book Depository. Just sorting through those was a job in itself.
Did my back in.
You did your back in, yes. It's a husband's job. And it was exhausting, but funnily enough, I did not find it as emotionally upsetting as I thought it might be. In many ways, once we'd got rid of it all, I felt a lightening. I felt a sense of I've cleared away so much of this baggage that I wasn't dragging it around with me, but it was in the attic, it was weighing us down. And now we were lighter. We had the things we needed, we wanted, we loved, not all the other stuff. And so it felt to me that this was fresh and it was a new adventure and that we were accepting the stage of life that we were at. We weren't in the growth phase of our life anymore. We were in the, yes, you could say the contracting phase, but also the having a good time phase rather than worrying about accumulating all that stuff.
Ralph, you're Jane's husband. Is there anything you miss about your old place?
Quite a bit, actually. I've been in the wine industry for 45 years, so I had a wine cellar underneath the house, which we had dug out when we renovated our house. Now, this is a wine cellar the same size as most people's living room.
Wow.
So it was rather good. And being in the wine industry, we used to get 30, 40 cases of wine delivered at a time.
I was getting books, he was getting wine.
It's not a bad combo.
It's a very
good
combo. So as you can see, we had to take out nearly 2 pallets of wine to get that shot. And we did what everyone tells you not to do, which is we bought a house before we'd even thought about selling our house, before we'd even contacted an estate agent or anything else. So that whole unpacking that Jane talked about had to happen in 2 weeks.
What was it like to leave a home that, started as the two-bedder, but you built all these additions on and you dug underneath for your wine cellar, to kind of leave a place that you'd also built as your own?
You do hit that sort of crossroads between the nostalgia of the known versus the concern or slight worry about the unknown. For us, we'd been there 35 years. We had a really strong sense of community. We knew everybody in the street. We had one of those streets where they block it off at Christmas time and have Christmas parties, and all the grandkids were there. So there was a lot of attachment. The benefit, though, was we only moved 1 suburb. The friends stay the same, the restaurants, everything that we did, it all remains the same. My fear of losing that sense of community never eventuated.
You've been in your current home for a couple of years now.
Yes.
How do you feel about it?
Terrific. Best thing we've ever done, without any doubt. And I think we've also given a great gift to our children. But the new house is fabulous. It's much smaller, it's a semi, but we basically walked straight into a turnkey property.
Alan, after 21 years, you and your wife Susan moved from your 5-bedroom family home into a brand new high-rise apartment in Melbourne's CBD. Why did you do that?
There was probably a couple of motivations for me. The first was Sue's very successful in her business, and so she worked very long hours. I found the weekends were full of doing the same gardening, the same maintenance as the house was getting older, and every Friday night was creating the list to go to Bunnings on Saturday morning and what did I have to do. And I sort of felt we were sort of a bit stuck. We didn't get to visit a lot of people because we were just so busy in our lifestyle. The other motivation was I really wanted to get rid of the mortgage, free up some cash for us to travel and enjoy our life. And we had a wonderful holiday in Europe last year, which was just great. And we never would have done that if we hadn't downsized.
Susan, you're Alan's wife. Were you on board with the move?
Not initially, unfortunately. I was quite resistant to it. There's an age gap between us, and I wasn't in the same place that he was. So I had no intention to be retiring or slowing down with work. I certainly wasn't as keen as Alan was.
So you weren't ready for the retirement home, but you were happy enough to sort of compromise, I guess, on an apartment?
Correct. We're in a 2-bedroom apartment. We thought we were going to be moving in alone We still have our 27-year-old daughter that's still with us. So I think it's taken me a very long time to adjust. Having a sanctuary that I had at my house, we had quite a large house, a lovely big backyard. We have a really gorgeous pool upstairs where we live, and I can just go up there and just escape the world. So I'm starting to adjust to that a little bit more.
Alan, what about you? Have there been challenges for you?
Look, I love where we live and I love what it's done for our lifestyle. The biggest challenges were around going into a new building, a new apartment building. I think buyer beware. We were naive, we had never done that before. There were a lot of traps we weren't aware of, and we were restricted from making decisions because we're always outvoted by the developer who had more votes than we did, because they had still a lot of apartments that hadn't been sold. So that left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, and we've only just had a window fixed after arguing for 18 months and threatening to go legal on it, and you shouldn't have to do that. My recommendation to people would be do a lot of reading and understand what buying off the plan really does, because I wouldn't do it again. We both agreed we would buy an established building where we can see what we get.
Over the last 50 years, suburban living has become more isolating, and we designed our home here to prevent that.
Hello, welcome to our home. This block is a large inner city suburban block that used to have one family living on it, and now we've got 3 households living on it. So here there are 3 independent units, this one, and this unit, and then in the front here we have the shared facilities.
We share the block of land with 2 other couples, and we range in age from 50 to mid-70s. We are the younger couple in the household, so we each have our own unit, and then we have a shared space in the house and also the garden.
This is one of the 3 units, mine and Joss's, and we love living here. It's a fantastic space, fully independent. We have our full kitchen. Here we have 2 bedrooms, one of which we use as a study. Oh, Ian, your veggies are looking great.
Yes, the tomatoes are coming on. Co-housing has been designed to share resources with your neighbours, to collaborate on different aspects of living here. We have a shared lounge room, workshop, shared garage. We are sharing vehicles. We've got 1 shared electric car and a second car.
The cohort that's baby boomers, we consider it our final home.
We specifically wanted no steps to facilitate getting around when one is frail.
One of the things that was really important for us is that we wanted a dynamic community around us, not a purely aged community, because I think that keeps you alive for longer.
Co-housing is not for everyone. It suits people who are able to cooperate, who are able to communicate, who are able to listen. We've got a situation that we have designed something that is working well, we're loving living here, and we're really developing a sense of community.
Ian, you've been living there for almost a year now. What do you see as the advantages of co-housing?
People sometimes compare it with shared houses, they compare it with communes. The taxi driver on the way over here asked if we were a cult.
Just clarifying that.
Just clarifying that. So co-housing is a concept or a term that started in Denmark in the 1960s to describe a place where a number of independent houses were clustered around shared facilities. So you're coming in expecting it to be a cooperative engagement. So you're coming in expecting you'll be sharing more things, that you'll be helping to organise the way they're run, you'll be part of the management of the whole place. So there's a sense of cooperation in that as well.
Are there any downsides?
There are certainly things you've got to consider, and it's not for everyone. You need people who come in expecting that this is what they're coming into, a cooperative situation. We're an unusual co-housing community because we're so small. Normally they're 20, 30, 40 units. It's more like you're designing a village, and there's an expectation that you'll be helping create the village council. With just 3 units, we require everybody to be involved. We can't afford 1 or 2 units deciding they're not going to cooperate with things.
So would downsides also be sort of communication differences, preference differences around what to do with the shared area, for example?
Certainly communication. We need to make sure that we manage things in a way that everybody's voice is heard. If you want everybody to continuously be happy about living here, then just having a vote with, 4 versus 2 is probably not going to cut it. We have a consent-based system. It's not consensus. We don't have to enthusiastically all agree with each other all the time. We've got different skills, different opinions there. But you either vote yes, I love it, or no, I'm vetoing that, we're not going to do that, or we're usually aiming for, can you live with it? If you can live with it, we're going to go with it.
You were asked to join a co-housing project. You wanted in on that. How difficult was the process of making it happen?
The process was quite long. We were lucky that in Canberra, the ACT government in 2017 had done a review of housing policy, housing choices. They were looking at the different choices that people wanted that couldn't be done. We ended up buying a block of land with an old house on it in 2018, and it's only this year that we finally moved into it, having gone through a lot of public consultation and applying for changes to the ACT master plan as well as the zoning rules.
Lubosh, you also had plans to co-house with a group of 20 people. What happened when you tried to buy some land?
That was the land that council in the north of Melbourne had inherited from a school that was demolished after not being used. So we formed a group of about 20 of us that wanted to buy a portion of that land, and we put in expression of interest. We had a project manager, and it was quite a long process in the beginning, but eventually the council found it probably too hard and they withdrew that process, and eventually it was then sold to a big developer. So our project didn't go ahead. I haven't given up on it, but it would be good for me to find a project that is smaller rather than a large one like 20 people, because it's a difficult process. With the more people you have, the more decisions you have to make.
What appeals to you about co-housing?
I think if you live in a supportive community, you can add life to your years rather than adding years to your life. Many people that I see struggle with this in terms of not wanting to move or downsize or go to aged care, but they can't stay where they are because they don't have the support. In a community, even if it's a smaller size community, you get that support.
Who do you currently live with?
Well, at the moment, my arrangement is very interesting. I live with a 102-year-old gentleman called Will. That's a picture of us over there.
How did you come to be housemates with Will?
It was a coincidence. He is part of a Czech and Slovak club in Melbourne that I go to as well. And because he is quite aged, his family was worried about him being on his own. He lived alone. He is quite in good health. But he and his family wanted someone to be there to support him. So they have an extension at the house. I live in that extension at the back. And he has the front of the house. He has a carer coming every day, and we just get along.
Grace, according to research, almost 1 in 5 baby boomers are renters. What are their housing options in retirement?
It gets difficult. Renting it becomes quite a bit of a challenge if you can't secure long-term rent. And real estate agents and as well as landlords tend to want to push the rent up, particularly in the metro areas, even in regional areas as well. So it ends up being quite a bit of uncertainty and anxiety for renters. Recently, I had a client in his 80s. He's rented the same property for 20 years. So he's been renting it since in his 60s, and all of a sudden the landlord has decided to sell the property as part of his own retirement plans. So my client, unfortunately, was forced out of the home that he knew for 20 years, and the agent was actually trying to entice him to rent something in the same suburb with a 2-bedroom apartment, which he actually didn't need the space, for double the rent. So he came to see me to say, well, can I actually afford this? And I really want to stay in the same area. This is what I've known for 20 years. So we did the numbers, and I said to him, look, realistically, you won't be able to afford double the rent. So in the end, he found a place that was suitable for him about 2 suburbs away.
Sandra, what's your housing situation?
I rent. I've rented all my life. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. Probably, I'd like to live in a better suburb. I have lived in better suburbs, but it's affordable. I'm on the pension now. I'm just turned 70. It's not too bad. I love living alone. I'm just feeling a bit insecure after hearing what some people have said, because I have moved a lot because of either people selling the place or somebody deciding that they'll move on. It's difficult sometimes, but I'm enjoying it at the moment.
How much of your pension goes into your rent?
Yeah, I looked at that. It's about 60% actually.
What's your reaction when you hear stories about cashed-up home-owning boomers?
Well, I don't know any cashed-up home-owning baby boomers, to tell you the truth. I think it's a bit misleading, actually, to think that every baby boomer is cashed up for retirement. I'm certainly not.
You said you liked living alone. Would co-housing be something you would ever consider?
I'm hearing a bit about it and learning a bit more about it, but having shared houses when I was younger, I don't think that it's something that would be for me. I love living alone. I love my privacy. And I can manage. I've always managed on my own. I don't like relying on other people, so perhaps it's just not for me.
Do you ever sort of think about, plan B or C if this happened or if that happened or if my rent went up this amount? Like, what things do you...
The rent goes up, it terrifies me. I get terrified about it, but I wait for it and cross my fingers and say, I hope it's not going to happen this year. So I might be all right for a while unless he wants to sell, and that is a worry. Obviously, I watch a bit of television and I've seen a lot of stories about women my age becoming homeless. I've lived in areas in the city where I've seen homeless women sleeping on benches and all sorts of things, and I hope it's never going to happen to me, but I am a bit terrified of it. And I guess if it were to happen to me, not sure what I'd do. I'd probably seek help from a charity or something, or maybe sleep. I don't think I'd sleep on a bench, but I think I'd probably sleep in my car or see if I could get some help from friends and couch surf or something along those lines.
Billy, you rent a house with your sister and your niece in Alice Springs. What's life like for you?
Life in Alice Springs is not what everybody sees in the media. I've been living in Alice Springs for about 8 years now, and in all that time I've had the same rentals. So my sister and I have rented the same place, and in all that time it's only ever gone up $20.
Do you see yourself staying there for a long time?
At the moment, my sister, she's looking at buying a house, a 3-bedroom home, but it all depends on how much money the bank is going to give her. So if she gets a 3-bedroom house, I will be able to live there. I want to rent from her. I don't want to actually buy my own home. I don't want to take on the financial burden for some of the reasons that people's talking about, maintenance, all of those sorts of things.
So plan A for you living-wise would be to rent a room from your sister if she buys a place. Do you have a sort of plan B or C?
I have a number of plans. So plan B, my daughter has a mortgage. She lives in Alice Springs as well with my 3 grandchildren. Her house, I looked at dividing off a space in the house for me. Plan C was actually buying a van or a caravan and travelling a bit. But as I've researched that a little bit more, and your health is really the most important thing, and if that starts to fail, then driving around the country in a van is not an option for me. I certainly don't want to end up in a retirement village. I certainly don't want to be homeless, but I've got a very big extended family, so I do have those options as well.
You also considered retiring in Bali at one point.
We did.
What happened with that idea?
I still consider it at times. I don't know, I lay awake at night, every day the whole idea of retirement comes into my head. So Bali was an option, but the same thing, it's about health, even though Bali now has a great health system over there. But I also have a grandson that's of special needs, and I can't be too far away from him because he frets. So we all have family obligations, I think, and being from an Aboriginal family, that obligation seems to be much harder on me at the moment anyway, being the grandma.
Sally, where do you currently live?
I live rural in far north coast, New South Wales, Paradise. I'm just coming to the end of a tenancy. I've been renting a house for 5.5 years and paying $700 a week, which is cheap in the area that I live in. And I kind of hit the wall. I just went, this is just not sustainable. Just money down the drain for me. You know, I was sucking up the little bit of money that I had in the bank was just all going to pay someone else's mortgage. And, you know, all the bills on top of that. And I just didn't feel, I felt like I was going backwards, not going forwards. And I don't have any super.
You worked in real estate for 20 years.
Yes, the irony.
What are your plans after this tenancy ends?
I have bought a small house on wheels, a tiny home.
Let's have a look at it. This is it.
Yep, that's my baby.
So it looks beautiful. Will this be your forever home?
This is my see me out house. Yeah, and it was really important to me that it felt a bit special. I wanted it to feel solid and pretty and comfortable and a little bit luxe, I guess, like a tiny luxe. Totally off-grid, which when I started getting educated about it, I realised actually this isn't so bad. You know, I mean, I've got a really cool fridge, I can cook, I've got reverse cycle air conditioning, gas hot water. So I'm generating all my power. I've got 3 5 battery things, stack of batteries, and gas hot water, and that's going to be fine.
How's it been downsizing your life to fit everything into your new home?
It's been extraordinary. I had a wardrobe. A room that was a wardrobe, and I invited a very OCD girlfriend to come over, and we went through my wardrobe. And I got down to a quarter of my wardrobe. And I had literally shed everything. And I had 5 boxes that I hadn't unpacked since 2011. It was very challenging. Really, old love letters and all sorts of things, photographs, and I burnt the lot. And I'm feeling really good. So 5 boxes down to 1.
Wow.
Really special.
You owned a home at one point. What happened with that?
This was back in 2012. My parents got sick in the UK, and I kind of panicked a bit, actually. I was hating my job at the time, and I just thought, I need to go. I just need to pack up. I need to go. And I guess probably I was, you know, a bit mentally challenged at the time, a bit stressed. And so I just sold my house and went to the UK. And of course, 18 months later, when I really hate it here, I'm going to go back to Australia. By which time I'd missed the market completely. So the market had done a big leap up, and because the prices had gone up, I couldn't buy back in to my area, but I also couldn't get anyone to lend me any money because of my age. So I kind of got into this renting cycle that I've been in for the last 13 years.
And now you've got your tiny home.
And now I've got my tiny home.
Robin, you're now living in a retirement village, but you first downsized when you were 50. Tell us about that.
I was living in Sydney, very comfortably. I had a job I loved, managing a community legal service, a women's legal service. But there was something else that had always been pulling me in another direction. I was doing some further study in theology through Melbourne, through Trinity College, Melbourne, and I was offered a scholarship to come and live in the college to finish my theological master's degree, and then to look at ordination with that. I got down to the college. There was one room, nice room, shared bathroom, undergraduate students. I was probably older than all their parents. So there I lived for 2 years. For my children, it was mum's move out of home. You know, we're supposed to move out of home. Mum's moving out of home. I had 8 or 9 further years in Melbourne before the next big move.
You moved to your retirement village. Some of us have certain views when we hear those words.
Yeah.
Is that what you had imagined for your later life?
No, I have surprised myself because I never ever thought I'd live in a retirement village. So I have 2 bedrooms, it's all on a flat level surface. I have a lovely courtyard, backyard, a lovely little front garden. I have a veggie plot as well. And there's any number of activities to satisfy needs for exercise, like aqua aerobics or bowls. There's the inevitable bingo. Yeah. There is a ukulele group, and I did try the ukulele and I was hopeless. And someone has given me bongo drums. And I have only just begun to actually size these up and begin to work out how on earth to properly manage them. So I'm going to need some lessons before the group will fully welcome me into to being part of them.
Michael, you're an economist. If more boomers downsized, could it have an impact on Australia's housing shortage?
Well, I think it would. We talk about a housing shortage, but what we actually have is a bedroom glut in Australia. If we look at all those houses that have 1 to 2 people in them and 3 or more bedrooms, when we all go to bed tonight, there'll be 13 million empty bedrooms in Australia, but they're just kind of in the wrong place, if you like. So trying to reallocate those bedrooms is probably a critical part of trying to solve that housing shortage.
You live in a 4-bedroom home with your wife. Your kids moved out. Would you consider downsizing?
Guilty as charged. Look, at some point, quite possibly. I don't feel I'm at that point yet. Now, after 30-something years working in an office, actually being able to get out into the garden and move rocks around and things like that is a pretty attractive retirement option. We'll see what happens there.
Alan and Susan, you downsized from a 5-bedroom home to a 2-bedroom apartment with your daughter. Will this be your forever home?
I don't think so, and I don't think we moved in thinking it was going to be. We chose the location of the apartment building to be very close to where our daughter, who's a figure skater, was training, and now she's a coach, and she doesn't have a driver's licence, so it was easy for her to get to work every day. So we chose it for that reason. So I think at some point, the way I'm thinking about it is we'll probably find if she moves out. If you're listening, darling.
No pressure.
It's time. If she does, I think I'm pretty sure we'll choose somewhere else.
Is that how you feel, Susan? Like, what kind of place do you imagine as your next place, potentially?
I'm still deciding. I'd probably still like a little bit more outdoor space. Be able to stand on the grass and just being able to have that. But I suppose in the last few months for me, I don't know, it's just since we got back from being away, I've actually enjoyed the fact that I can just close that door and we can leave. And that's been lovely, not to have to worry about the dog or all the other bits and pieces that we used to have to think about. So there's a lot of more positives that's starting to come out of it. I suppose I miss my home, but, it's that emotional thing that, as I keep being told, it's a female thing.
You might have been wondering what happened to our downsizers, Charmaine and Brian. They were locked out of their new home on settlement day. Let's see what's happened to them.
Come on in and see the new place. Didn't really take us any time at all to settle in, did it?
Feels like we've been here forever, actually.
I know,
Yeah.
except I can't wait for the new lounge suite to come. That's annoying me having the old chairs there. I've got my little reading corner set up with the sunlight comes in the morning. I love that. And a nice outlook of Arthur's Seat. So we've still got a pretty view, even though it's not the bay. Now I have to show you my lovely kitchen. It's my pride and joy. It's a nice modern kitchen.
I used to lie awake at night over the last 6 or 8 months thinking where we're going to end up financially.
We didn't have enough in our super to get us through, to be honest. Yeah.
And we're now feeling a bit safer.
I mean, we've both worked hard all our lives, we've paid our taxes. You don't want to downsize and go backwards in your standard of living.
No, it's been, as you said the other night, the best move of our life.
It has.
Other than getting married to you, I'm not sure. It's been a great move.
Sally, you're about to move into your tiny home. How are you feeling about your future?
I'm feeling pretty good. I feel that I'm in control of where I am, and if my circumstances with where I'm renting change, I can just move it. My dream is that one of my children will have children and I can be granny at the end of the garden. That's my dream. Hidden, of course, all completely landscaped in. But, yeah, that's my dream. Granny at the end of the garden.
Nice. You can just move to wherever that might be.
Absolutely. Freedom.
That's lovely. Vishnia, you and your husband live in a 4-bedroom home and have no plans to downsize. What does your home mean to you?
We bought 5 years ago. When we looked for the house, we walked in. My husband is a retired chef. He fell in love with the kitchen. I look out and saw the pool, beautiful, and we just said we are buying the house without seeing the rest of the house. Walking in, it just felt like I'm home. I'm here and I'm staying. We are buying and we bought. And this is house for us for the rest of our lives.
Ralph and Jane, for 35 years you poured a lot of love and devotion into your family home's garden. Was that difficult to leave?
Oh, God. We did. We spent a lot of time building a garden, as you can see.
Wow. He says we. He did it.
But anyone who lives on the north shore of Sydney will know that we have been invaded by a mass of brush turkeys or bush turkeys, brush turkeys. So that wonderful garden every year was getting torn to pieces by a turkey that would scrape the entire garden clean and put it into a mound. So, I mean, we did everything we could to try and dissuade it, went online, found out you've got to put mirrors on the mound. That didn't work. We had sprinkler machines that were movement, you know, and we tried to sprinkle them out of the place. In the end, I found somebody who said that there's only one thing that works. And you've got to go and get a tarp, and you've got a very heavy-duty tarp. You've got to put it over the mound, and you've got to put something exceedingly heavy on top of it so that they can't move it. So I turned upside down a wheelbarrow on top, but
It's very pretty, as you can imagine.
But I mean, 6 months of the year, I'd go back out and replant things and get the garden to look like that. And then for 4 or 5 months, it would get torn up. So leaving that garden was less of a wrench than you might expect. I've now left it to the turkey and the new owners.
So careful if you're buying a house on the North Shore of Sydney.
Jane, did you make the right decision to downsize?
Yeah, I think we did. And we both said to one another when we went through it, if anything happened to either of us, the other one could live there perfectly well on their own, or if, you know, one of us became incapacitated, we'd be able to manage. Sure. So we've taken that into account. I don't know if we'll live there forever, though. I've seen my parents in a retirement community and what a difference it's made to them in terms of having that community as they have aged. It's been an extraordinary change in their life, and I'm sure it has had a lot to do with them getting to the ripe old age they have with, you know, their marbles and their energy. So I'm sort of thinking this is 10 or 15 year, and then maybe we'll make that other step into more of a community living. But who knows? For the moment, we are so content where we are. It's perfect.
And I must say, the one thing that we have learnt in this entire process is we've made the big move once now. To move again now is not, in my mind anyway, not daunting at all. It's easier.
What have you done with your cases and cases of wine?
My daughter and son-in-law have got half of it under their house.
We're returning.
the storage.
But quite honestly, we took a decision that now is the time to stop collecting and start drinking.
That sounds really good.
That's right.
Thank you so much, and thank you to you all for being here. That's all we have time for. I'll see you again next time.